Oh, Biological?
No, film.
The Firm.
Yeah.
John Grisham.
John Grisham. Everything's about the law, and it's kind of, there are elements of everything he does. I think an incredible writer is someone who can write a great, drama, a funny comedy, a sci-fi, and an action film. Boy, if you can do that, you're kick-ass.
When he said that they go, when John Kennedy crashed his plane and died, every writers group in Hollywood took a break and started doing jokes on how that happened, right? That you could.
That's every day. I think the average writer's room is if they had a camera in there, the general public would be shocked at the jokes, the subject matter that people joke on. Nothing, absolutely nothing, is off limits. Years ago, I was in a room in a writer's room, and we had heard that someone came in and said, this lady had passed away. And I, in my head, thought, who was going to do the first joke? I swear to God, within 10 seconds, one guy said, all right, who's going to get her parking space? I mean, they went right in. And it's like, no one was shocked, because it's like, you wait for this, and you're in this cocoon where you're safe to say this. If you go out on the street or on television or something, you will be crucified. But this is a writer's room, because you're always trying to outwit, top the next guy, and get as crude as possible, and then go for the joke that you can air. So
yeah, see, that's the interesting thing, is that from that comes the freedom to open you up to the cliche, think outside of the box, to go.
And that's you have to go way out there to come back here and get something that's really.
Somebody else have a question? You want to?
I'll talk loud and make sure everybody. How do you see the TV industry?
Well, it's never loud enough, even though you think you're talking loud.
Thank you. How do you see the film and television industry changing 20 years from now? I mean,
forget 20 years.
We are becoming more individual. There's more websites. There's sites like mine that put 6-second commercials and storytelling. How do you see the trend is as far as us audience changing?
I see the traditional networks and television studios following the public's lead. So like a big indicator of this was Netflix, and recently Viacom, which is CBS, they left Netflix. They saw Netflix. They can do what Netflix is doing. Okay, Netflix is starting to make their own content. The show House of Cards with Kevin Spacey. It's a big hit, and it's all in-house. Netflix produced it, did everything, and they have a couple other shows like that also. So you're giving the viewer an opportunity. If he wants, he can sit in the house for 2 days and watch every episode, or he can string it out and watch an episode week by week. So it gives. The thing now is what we're trending towards is just audience choice. So you don't have to, in the old days, I mean, if whatever it was, Beretta was on, you better stay in front of that set the whole time, because you're going to miss something. It's gone. You can't rewind. You can't watch it on the net. It was just gone. And now the internet has changed that, and what CBS is doing is they're going to put up their own model of Netflix. So they're going to, very soon, you'll be able to go to the CBS Netflix site, and they're going to have everything that's ever been on CBS and owned by CBS on that website. Okay, so you can go and watch Hawaii Five-0, any episode you want from 40 years ago. You can watch an I Love Lucy from 60 years ago, or whatever.
Tap in an actor you want to see in that show.
Right. So just like you do on Netflix, NBC and ABC and the CW and Fox are all following suit. So what you're just going to have, and half the people out there are running it through their television sets now, their whole, through their Blu-ray. So in 20 years, I would say you're just going to see more of that, and they're going to be, just vying that this is the place for the viewer's choice. This is the ultimate place for viewer choice. So, and more opportunity for anyone who wants to start up, because you'll be able to, I believe, they'll start to buy people, put people under contracts from YouTube. So if you have there's that kid Fred. You ever seen Fred on YouTube where your kids watch Fred? Fred has like 42, 50, 60 million views. In the future, CBS or NBC will, instead of giving him his own show on the regular network, they'll say, we want your internet content only on ours. And we'll pay you this much to keep doing the stupid crap you do. And so they will have him as, so I think that would be, in 20 years, that's what you'll see.
And how do you see it's affecting the audience habit of, you said crude jokes. Do you think you're going to see more of that? And is that going to affect the audience?
Yeah, but you'll see, there'll be people who want to do quality work, or are doing quality work right now that you can see on the internet. Same thing. You could just watch whatever you want to watch. Watch whatever quality of work you want to watch. So that's where I think it's going.
Art, did you have a question?
Yeah, I kind of had a question. I'll just do it from here. A couple things. One, where is the content going to be mostly stored? At the studios, on the hard drive, the old shows. Are they going to farm it out to some other place?
No idea.
Okay, then what about the ratings? Like on movies, there's PG-13, and on Google, I don't know what kind of ratings that they have. Censorship.
They don't have a rating system on the internet.
Yeah.
So YouTube, if you go to a dicey video, they'll say sign in to confirm your age, or click here to say you're over 18. So there's no real, that's different. It's just like cable. You can say things on cable that most of America gets that you can't say on those 4 networks.
And do you mind could you move a little to the right maybe or something, because there's people behind you.
To the right?
Yeah, I think that would clear the shot there. David, did you have a? No. You did back here.
Oh.
You might have to move over here because.
No problem. I just kind of had a comment, and that was that I think people always wanted a choice. It's just that the technology has finally caught up to that. But the thing that I think is kind of interesting is that I think we're going to lose something more and more, and that's those cultural things that we all used to respond to. Everybody watched Roots because it was an amazing thing that happened on TV, and you only had so many networks, and everybody was talking about it right after it aired. Like every night, that was a conversation. And I think that we're going to see less and less of those things happening in the culture, so I wonder where that leaves us, because we have less of a touchstone commonplace. What do you think?
Well, no, like I said, you can make your own projects. Right now, for me, it's like a gold rush for entertainment. It's so easy to get into entertainment now. And it's like, if this were 60 years ago and you knew what was going to happen, these trends always happen. It happened in radio, it happened in television, and now it's happening in films. I would say, Pepe, let's buy a TV station. They're dirt cheap, but I know that TV is going to be the way of the future. And for a very little amount of money, you could have started your own TV station. Then once government regulation comes in, it's sort of, which is going to happen with the internet, it sort of locks out the common guy. But right now, there's nothing stopping you from getting a bunch of people together and doing a Roots type saga or any type of project and putting it on the internet. You don't want to leave it up to a bunch of suits in Hollywood who don't have a lot of diversity amongst them. That's why, you know, I was reminded today just watching a commercial with a guy, was it Geico or Foster Farms or something, with the two chickens are talking to a black woman, and she's doing the I would never put any person acting like that in anything I would do, because that is a just to be blunt, that's a white person's image of what how black women are supposed to behave. I've never even been around black women that act like that, but yet I see it on TV all the time. So what's the image if you're in Amherst, New Hampshire, and your whole neighborhood is white, and this is your only exposure to black people? Is that, well, when I see a black, I know how black people are. They do this, and they talk sassy and do this. Then when you go to college or outside of your area and you see one, you expect that, and they, wait a minute, you don't act like that, and you speak so well, you know, because it's conditioning. So do you want to be in control of conditioning, or do you want the people who have been in control of it for, you know, the whole history of TV to continue to be in control of it, you know, to portray you, you know? So it's just more of an opportunity. You're not going to lose that, you know.
Yeah, I had a couple of questions. One is, I think you touched on Anglo writers writing for African Americans or Latinos. I think that's been the case for African Americans and especially Latinos in the past. And In Living Color was a really big break because it was African American writers and Latino writers writing for the show. So in terms of where we're at now, first question is, because the old model was, first it was come to Hollywood, get discovered. Second, it was come get an agent and have them work your portfolio. Then it was get a manager. And now it's own the content. And I think that's what you're talking about, where if you can own the content and get it out there yourself, you have a lot of leverage, and you get to maintain control of your work. How is it now for writers of color to go out there? How do they get in there and take something? And then you see a show like on what do you call it? NTSF, SD, SUV. I'm from San Diego, so everything comes up with San Diego. I'm very excited. But you know that the show NTSF, SD, SUV? It started out as a fake commercial on Adult Swim, and then they turned it into a 15-minute series, and now it's a 15-minute series on the channel, but they get all kinds of stars in there to do cameos. And I'm not sure how that came together, but it started out as a concept, and it got out as a commercial, and now it's a series. So on the model you're describing, I tend to believe that the guy had this great idea, pitched it to them, they took a risk and went with it as a commercial, and then developed it from there. So how do we, as a community that doesn't necessarily have entree into the industry, get in there, get those meetings, and finalize those deals?
Well, stop thinking of yourself as a color and just start thinking of yourself as, you know, in your case, as Victor. You're not, you know, if you were to go out and get killed today, I don't want would you want the headline to be Latino gets killed or Victor gets killed?
Victor survives.
Oh, yeah. But what I'm saying is, like, everyone's living in their own reality, you know, and I guess I'm in a position where I go into a lot of different realities. You know, I'm around people who are from the east, northeast, living in segregated areas, wealthy, and some of my friends. I went to school in Pomona, grew up in Pomona, and I went to it would have been all Latino, except I was there, you know, a poor area. So I was in that world, and then African American world. And so what you find is that you don't start to think in terms of, this is, if you say, well, what's the story about? This is a black story. No, it's not a story about black people. You know, I'm pitching a pilot right now, and I haven't determined what race the people are. I'm focusing on characters and relatable issues. So where it doesn't matter who you stick in. It doesn't, you know, it doesn't have to be a Latino family, a black family, or a white family. It could be anyone. It could be a mixture. But I think a lot of projects go into the dumper where people are too focused about this being a story about blacks, you know, and you're focusing on things that that other people can't relate to, you know. But as far as writers go, a white writer can definitely write a story that involves any other groups if they know, if they've been in the culture, if they've been in the neighborhoods, if they've stepped out of their reality, not just reinforcing what they grew up watching on television, you know. So, you know, it can be done, but you have to be flexible and always kind of see the other person's side, you know, because people are upset, like, you know, I don't see any black people on TV. There's not really black people on TV. Well, what's your favorite show, Mark? My favorite show is Breaking Bad. Okay, that's a white actor in that league, and he's fantastic. You know, that's all I care about is being entertained. You know, it's not to say I'm not going to give black actors a chance if I have a show on the air. You know, more than likely I would. But as a writer, no matter what your color is, you have to know how to write human things. You know, I say I lose my, my brother just died, your brother just died. We can relate on that. It doesn't matter. Skin color doesn't matter. Holidays we celebrate doesn't matter. We can relate to this issue. And those are the things that stick to the viewer. And they say, that was a great show. Roots. It wasn't about black people. It was about a family generational struggle. Okay? That's why it got whatever it did, a ridiculous 60, 70 million viewers or something like that. Ridiculous. Because it wasn't about being black. It was about something everyone could relate to, overcoming something, a struggle. And everyone can relate to overcoming a struggle. So, I have no idea if that answered your question.
No, but subliminally they thought it was about, because they were just seeing the color, but it was much deeper than that. And that's something that happened to us just recently, is with the Despicable Maids, or whatever they're called, the Latina maids, the Eva Longoria. So, man, all the Latinas, friends of mine that are in the entertainment, they were upset. Why do they always have to have a maid? Why do they always have... And my immediate reaction was, if you were one of the maids, would you be complaining? I mean, that's what happens with, especially Latinos. We never write in and say, God, I love that. That was so great. You know, show that actor, show that kind of story more. Because they listen to that. They see those numbers. No, we complain. We only like to complain. You know, we're not going to go support. We'll complain about it, but then when we do show something good, they're not going to go see it. I said, when we did The Ballad of Gregorio Cortez, great movie. I was at a LULAC event in my hometown in Corpus Christi. And so I said, Scarface had just come out. I said, how many of you saw The Ballad of Gregorio Cortez? About 3 people. I said, how many of you saw Scarface? Well, everybody saw Scarface. I said, see, you're the intellectual Latinos in the country, and you didn't see something that had to do with our history that was important. But you saw it because you wanted that entertainment. So that's kind of the deal. Is I was going to ask you a question, but I said, if you had $1 million or $10 million that somebody came to you, would you be able to say, okay, let's get this group of people and start putting this kind of material and go on the internet and think you could have success? Or is it a crapshoot?
No, I would take that money, develop a show which I think people would watch, and I would go straight to first-run syndicators and put it up. So that's where a whole lot, there's so much money in first-run syndication that, you know, too many people ignore that.
For people that aren't aware of that, like anger management is one of those, right?
Yeah.
What else?
Yeah.
What else?
You know, you take a simple idea, you know, it's not, you ever see the show Cheaters? Anyone?
Yeah.
That's a first-run example of a first-run syndicated show. So you know what the guy does. He goes out with a camera, sets people up, all that. Well, so it's just his small crew, his camera, and they go out and they do this. And so they sell it to a station, let's say $10,000, $15,000 an episode. That show right now has about, I think about 140 stations. So that check is not going to a studio, that check is not going to anywhere but this guy, and a small fee to the syndicator. So you take about 140 stations and you multiply that by 10,000 for one episode. That's what he's making.
This is funny because the guy that was the original host, Tommy Habib, was an Arabic guy from Corpus Christi, from my hometown, that I knew the family, and I knew him. Then he sued, I don't want to be stereotypical here, but he sued the Jewish producer, kicked him out of it. They were partners, but he didn't have it together enough he got some money out of it, but not the long money. Not, I mean.
Well, that's how you do that now. It's like, you know, Tyler Perry sort of does that. But Tyler Perry, I mean, successful beyond belief business guy. Especially when you consider what he makes, in my opinion, is total crap. But he's getting the lion's share of that money. 100 episodes, $100 million. After they air it one time, he gets it back. He resells it to my network for another $50 million. So he's done that over and over again about 7 or 8 times. So if someone gave me that money, that's what I would do. I would get together the best writers and actors, create a product, and sell it first run syndication.
But I think someone like Tyler Perry, now that you mentioned him, is an interesting case because I think he's actually a better writer and performer, but he knows what sells. So there's actually 2 Tyler Perry brands, the one that you see on the theaters, you know, that make all the money, and the one that do the projects that get the critical acclaim. And I think Scorsese kind of had a dual career too, where he would make a film that was based in an Italian culture, and then a film that was a general film, like he'd make like The Great Gatsby and then Casino. You know what I'm saying? So he just worked both of those visions, but he had the capacity to do it. How does somebody who's just getting started, just like I said, get into those like the first run syndicators? Who do you call to say, here's my project, here's my product? You know, where do I sign? Who do I talk to? How do I get a team together?
You produce the product first. Okay. You have to know what you're doing. You have to write something good. You know, shoot it well. Then you get on the phone. That's all you can do. So you call KDOC, introduce yourself. Hey, I'd like to send over a DVD or a link to a website. This is what we're doing. And it's as simple as that. You're knocking on doors. Although there is a directory of every independent station in the United States, which costs about $500 now, and you can just go through there and just do a mass mailing or just call people. That's what Byron Allen did. That's why Byron Allen is a billionaire right now.
Billionaire?
Billionaire. Yeah.
Do you know who Byron Allen is?
He does the show where it's a single camera fixed on a. It started with film junkets. If you ever watch Channel 5 News or Channel 7 or all of them, when they're interviewing, you know, Joe Blow and whoever about the new film that's coming out, you'll notice every entertainment reporter is sitting in the same spot that the last entertainment reporter was sitting in. What Byron Allen did is he had connections because he was a child actor on That's Incredible or something like that, one of those shows, and he was a stand-up comedian. So he had a little in, and he said, "Can I do interviews there?" He called the right people. They said, "Yeah, sure." So he said, "I'm going to put together half-hour shows of just the interviews for these guys." He did that, got on the phone, dialed all day long, and before you know it, after a year or two, he had this show on the air on 176 stations. That made him a multi-millionaire right there. So he repeated that formula for a sports show and a couple other shows. And he had about 3 of them, or 4 of them at one time. And then he right now he has over 10 shows on like that. So you take about, 500 or 600 stations and whatever he's charging each station, which is a bargain for any station, So it's like we buy the show for $10,000, he's fine. He's working on volume. But this station is like, we're going to sell this much in advertising, during that time, we're going to more than make up that $10,000. So it's a win-win all the way around.
And sometimes you get
That's
a
making-
percentage, right? You can negotiate a percentage of the money that's coming in, or
Yeah, you can, but you don't have to.
You
You're
don't
busy
mess
counting
with it.
the money from all of these stations that you've sold this show to. It's incredible. And
now I want to ask you, because I'm going to go. I've been doing improvisational workshops like for 50 years to schools and stuff that I've told you about. Now I've got 2 things coming up in Texas where I'm going to schools where they're paying me to come in and do that with elementary, middle school, high school. I do motivation, and then I do some improv stuff, workshops with them. Now, if I'm coming to you and saying, I've got this, and then I've got a 3-day deal in Eagle Pass, Texas, where I'm going to do the same thing, what would be the best way for me to do that? I know it's kind of a crazy question because you don't know exactly what it is that I do, or what is the result, because people need that quick result, right? When they're
people want the quick result. They don't necessarily need it. if you know, I was at listening to Spike Lee talk at a college once, and like a 19-year-old girl stood up and she said, "How can I get a job directing in Hollywood?" And he went on to explain that it's almost impossible because she's a black woman and this and that and that. I was thinking, is what I would have said was, well, what have you directed so far? You know, she put the cart 2 miles in front of the horse. So you have to learn a craft first before you start complaining that you can't get work doing it. You know, and that's happened to me so many times. I was on the Tonight Show, and this comic, this happened with about 4 different comics, and this guy in particular, I was at the store in Pasadena, and he came up to me and said, "Hey, I hear you're on the Tonight Show." He said, "Yeah." He says, "Why don't they have any black comics on there? How can I get on there?" I said, "You know what?" I said, "Give me your tape, and I'll see what I can do." He said, "Okay." I talked to the booker, went right to his office, gave him the tape. I said, "Jimmy, look at this guy's tape." And in Jimmy Brogan's office, was probably easily 1,000 tapes everywhere. He said, "Mark, if you recommend this guy, I'll definitely look at him." And I told the guy, I said, "Okay, you have to call Jimmy." I gave him the tape, and he said, "You did?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, he wants you to come and do an audition." The guy never followed up. And I saw him at a Whole Foods, and I was walking to Whole Foods. He saw me, and he ducked and went the other way. So it's like, people are ready to complain they're not getting opportunities, but when you ask them, what do you do, how long you've been doing it, how proficient you are at it, well, you know, you learn your craft first, and then you bang away, pay your dues, and if nothing's happening, you know, you go from there. But yeah.
Question for you. Who are your favorite writers for film, books, or television? Who have been your favorite writers since you started being a writer?
Television, The Writer's Bride of Lucy. That was the greatest sitcom ever done. You know, it was the writing was impeccable. It's never been done that well again. One of the first was the best. Okay, so I have all the respect in the world for those writers. And then I guess, well, you know, Madeline Pugh, Bob and Madeline Pugh, and you know, people like that. There's about 5 writers there. But other than that, you know, I don't really have a favorite writer. But if you notice, there are writers who always basically write the same thing over and over again when they're successful. So you take like a Michael Crichton. Everything is kind of, you know, it's kind of the same thing.
Stephen King.
Stephen King, the same thing. The guy who always does the legal.
Oh, Stephen Bochco?
No, film.
The Firm.
Yeah.
John Grisham.
John Christian, everything's about the law, and it's kind of, there are elements of everything he does. I think an incredible writer is someone who can write a great, drama, a funny comedy, a sci-fi, and an action film. Boy, if you can do that, you're kick-ass, because nearly everyone is just has one niche. I write comedies, and they're always right. I write even more intense than that. I write buddy comedies. So it's tough to pick one because you get a hit, you tend to just stay
Like the actors.
pigeonholed in that.
The actor, you do the same parts over and over again. That's why I was always doing cholos instead of Simon.
Who's your favorite writer to collaborate with on The Simpsons?
It's all a group, so it's just always all of us. But probably the best Simpson writer was John Swartzwelder. He wrote, I think he wrote about 55 episodes or so. So his stuff is just above and beyond anyone else.
What was he like as a person? I'm just a big fan of his.
You'd be surprised. He's off in his own world, sort of a loner, a bit on the conservative side, and bachelor, and just really in his own head. He's not someone who's going to sit down and have. And this is a lot of good writers, great writers. They're so into their head. It's hard to have a long conversation with them. They're not focused on that. They're just, if you say something in the conversation, they're thinking, oh, I could probably write a story about something that you just said, and they're thinking about that. So, people like him, they're a bit on the weirder side, Yeah.
And it's like white, red. Well, they go red, a red convertible driving down.
Could you come to
Thanks, Pepe. I talked to Pepe earlier. I'm working on my first, I'm half Latino, so I'm working on my first independent film. What would you recommend somebody going up, because Latino films kind of like, they're not really like out there, they're not big yet. What would you recommend someone just starting out to get like investors and people to look at your script? And
So you have a script.
yeah, we have a script already, but written by Todd Bello. He wrote El Cantante with Jennifer Lopez and Marc Anthony.
Well, the best place to go is open the phone book and go to dentist. Every dentist will want to invest money in a film.
Okay.
And all you have to do is have a role somewhere for his wife or his daughter or his niece. And that's honest to God, that's about the truth. That's how you get investing.
Business
That's the first place I would go for investing in a film.
Business professional.
Dentist.
Yeah, that's the first place. You'd be surprised how many responses you would get if you sent a very, well done up package of your script and your bio and what you want to do, and send it to 10 dentists in the area you live or whatever, and you'd be surprised. You'd probably get it. I guarantee you'd probably get at least 4 responses.
Especially, and only because you have the guy that wrote El Cantante.
You heard of
Jennifer
Todd Bello?
Lopez. Huh?
Todd Bello?
No, I don't know him, but just the fact that he has done something.
Yeah.
Like he said, that the question he would ask that young girl, what have you directed? Well, what have you written? Well, we had a thing when I was doing Caddyshack 2 to James Mason. And so we said, I told him, this is a great script. My friend wrote it. And it's really funny. He says, so if it's so good, why hasn't anybody bought it? That's,
Exactly.
That's how I would get it going.
Not like going to Columbia Pictures.
Nope.
that ain't never going to happen.
That's not going to happen. Yeah. That's how you get it. You
We're
have
going
a,
to, what's
Not
it
even
called?
Eddie Olmos, not even the biggest stars.
Section 19.
No,
You heard of Section 19?
Tom Hanks and when he played the goofy guy.
you know, Forrest Gump.
Forrest Gump. The producer from Forrest Gump was the wife of the president of Warner Brothers. And it took her 10 years to get it done. She's sleeping with the owner, and she couldn't get it done. So, unless you're cuter than her.
And I want to, this is an incredible conversation, but I want to draw it to a close because we have to start our next film. But I want to say that there's a huge wealth of information here, and I really want to thank Mr. Wilmore and Pepe for coming down and having this conversation. Please do talk to him after the screening, exchange information. I think that you're right, there is a gold rush going on in the entertainment industry. There's a lot of mix-up. The head of Telemundo, or was it Univision, just became the executive vice president of programming for NBC Universal. So there's a lot of motion happening, there's a lot of doors that are open, there's a lot of avenues going, and I think the biggest mistake that you can make right now is not trying. And I like what you said about going to a dentist, as a producer, because we have dentists in Santa Ana. We may not have studios yet, we do have industry people, but it's accessible, and I think that just take what you do it well. You got to learn to be a good writer, but also learn to be a good businessman, and know what the field is out there, so you don't go in starry-eyed, so you go in informed. But know that there are just all these possibilities, and there's huge amounts of channels out there right now. It's impossible to know how many channels there are. They're doing content. There's a lot of it is done in green screen, with green screen backgrounds. And when you were mentioning Byron Allen having the drop that's at the back of the press junket, but a lot of people are just in their a small office with a green screen, and it looks like they're in a studio. So as long as the quality's good, but I think you're right. The content has to be good before you go in and really to wow anybody. You have to have the material, and you have to do the chops. I know as a stand-up comic, you have to go out there and just be at a lot of stand-up nights to get good. And so as a writer, I think that because a lot of it doesn't get produced, we lose sight of the fact that just the act of writing it, even if it doesn't get produced, is making you a sharper writer. But so is there anything you'd like to say in closing? And I want to bring up our festival director, Pocha Peña, also to say a few words. Was there anything you want to say in closing to wrap up this conversation?
Yeah, well, I've known Mark a long time, and I've heard a lot of his ideas that are incredible, and he hasn't made that movie yet. But you can. Any of us can. Because it's like he said, we are the center of our own universe. So we are everything. And we ain't nothing if we don't do it.
Oh, thanks so much, Pepe. Thanks, Mark, for joining us. Let's give him a big hand. Coming down. Getting us all to the next level. We really want to bring more production to Santa Ana. We really want to inspire and help our own hometown filmmakers take it to the next level. Our hometown writers. There's so much talent here in Santa Ana as a county seat. So if you want to see more of Pepe and you want to see him on the big screen, stick around for 3 p.m. We'll have the classic Buckaroo Bonzai Across the Eighth Dimension. He was one of the early Latino science fiction heroes of Reno, Nevada, a real cult figure, and of course he's done so many films like Scarface and Caddyshack and Car Wash and Resurrection Boulevard, and we could be here a long time just talking about all your films. So we'll have another Q&A with Pepe Serna after. We'll have a little talk before Buckaroo Bonzai and a little Q&A after Buckaroo Bonzai. That starts at 3, and right now we're going to go into a classic science fiction, El Santo versus Los Marcianos. So you will see the sexiest Martians ever, and of course the Mexican cult hero El Santo will be battling them. So stay tuned here, stick around.
We'll have subtitles for those of you who are lucharifically, challenged, as you can follow along. But anyway, so a big hand to Pepe Serna, Marco, Wilmore, And do talk to them afterwards, and hopefully you can stick around for a little bit. But thanks for coming and kicking off our second week of the Film Fiesta. Those who text your friends, they missed out, man. I know you guys were partying last night, so those who were up a little, decided to set their snooze a little later missed out. But anyways,
We also have buttons for sale outside.
Yes, buttons for sales, taking donations. We have a youth media program that we do, the cinema camp that just finished its first year. But let your friends know that we have a weekend of free films, amazing stuff. Tonight, very proud to have Philip K. Dick tribute. We're having him, we had to talk to the mayor, and he's declaring it Philip K. Dick Day, famous sci-fi writer.
Day in Santa Ana.
Wrote Blade Runner, wrote Minority Report, wrote like 40 books in all. Paycheck.
Total Recall.
Total Recall. Any other
Scanner Darkly.
Scanner Darkly. We can go on and on. That's just a few. That's just a few.
And
But
he lived and died here in Santa Ana.
lived and died in Santa Ana, and we also have the pleasure of showing a special screening of a new film based on a Philip K. Dick book called Radio Free Albemuth, which was written when he was in Orange County, and it's based on his Orange County experiences. And
California premiere. California premiere, Southern California.
And the director will be here, John Allen Simon. It's getting great reviews, many awards. We're very lucky and very proud to have it. So tell all your friends. We just want to make sure that that's packed and that people know, because he's got a lot of following. I mean, Philip K. Dick has a huge following. We want to just make sure everybody knows that it's here. They're going to have a great time, and it's free. So.
And if anybody likes coffee, I'll tell you all about my coffee company. I've got some free samples. And so you can meet me outside in the alley right behind Crescent's.
Not just the king of the Cavaliers, the king of coffee also. Excellent. Okay, so another big hand for Pepe Serna and Marc Wilmore. Thank you, everybody. Now, so if you'd like, if you could show the slide reel first.